Hi everyone that is watching now live with us today. My name is Dania Meira. I am the founding member of the AI Guild and the Datalift Director. Please, if you're watching us live, be an active participant and use the chat to send questions to us. Today with me is my guest, Eugene Klyuchnikov. Eugene has been working with software engineering for the past 15 years. And the last 5 years, he is focused on business intelligence and data engineering. As an associate engineering manager, he leads a team that works on a variety of projects supporting A/B experimentation, marketing, and marketplace domains. Thank you for joining us live today.
Hi, Dania. Hello, everyone watching and listening. Thank you very much for having me.
Cool. Now, when we get started with this chat, we would always like to ask the other side to share with us a little bit of how did you get to where you are today? Like, how has been your career journey?
That's a very good question because I also believe that my journey is a bit unusual, so I like sharing that. I started my professional career in IT as a web developer, and I used to be a web developer for many years, full stack developer. And then I started being interested in data. I think my interest started with machine learning algorithms. I don't remember exactly, maybe it was a course on Coursera, most likely, like a lot of people go through that journey. And then I remember I was fascinated with this idea of self-learning algorithms. It really looked for me like a magic, but a magic in a scientific term, right? The magic that you can decompose to individual simple components so that you can explain how that magic works. I've tried quite a lot of that, building some machine learnings in my previous company, like Steam Bean, as a web developer, but also trying to do something in my free time. And then I slowly transitioned to this data world. But actually I ended up in data engineering, right? And I think the reason for that is that I quickly realized this garbage in, garbage out principle, right? That in order to build a good machine learning model, you have to have good data model as an input. So then I started moving towards that direction. And yeah, I do enjoy it. So I'm still here.
Cool. Yes, thank you for sharing. It is indeed a different journey than the traditional one, but also in the data field, I think we can say that it's very diverse background that we find. So we have people coming from different backgrounds, working in data science or data engineering. And maybe the question here is there a reason why you decided to go for data engineering instead of data science? Because you mentioned how you were curious about this self-learning kind of algorithms. And to me, that sounds more like a data science role than a data engineering role.
Yeah, I think I do have a personal answer for myself why data engineering is more appealing than data science to me. I think my answer is that in data science, it's quite common that you spend a lot of time on building the algorithm or building the data model, and just to realize that it doesn't work at the end. So the probability of failure is way higher there, right? Like you have to admit that at some point or with some data models, you'll probably fail at the end. And I think that was the fact that I couldn't accept. Like I couldn't accept that I that I would work for 3 months and then realize that it's not working. So maybe data engineering is more predictable environment for me, where you just take the principles and then you apply those principles and see how it ends up.
Interesting answer. Thank you. I see the point that data science has this science aspect, that you have some hypothesis or you want to try something that is new. So you don't know before you start doing what is the outcome going to be like. Yeah. And in that sense, I think that is essentially very different from engineering, where you have the requirements and you build something that should be robust and reliable.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and I think that's makes the connection between the topic that we want to talk about today, because we are going to talk about experiments, and there's this component of science, right? The experimentation, but then you build a platform to enable more experimentation. So can you share with us a little bit of the motivation, like why GetYourGuide decided to build a platform for the experimentation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is a very good example that illustrates my words, right? That we have this data science component, but we should also have the reliable working platform, and that's exactly the engineering piece. Yeah, why answer to a question to why question is really simple, because we want to be data driven, or like how now it's more called data informed, right? We don't want to just take wild guesses, even though it's a valid approach to make decisions, especially when the time is limited, right? But we want to be more systematic with how we test different bets, and how we then decide on which bets go live, go to production. That's why we do a lot of experiments. I didn't check today, but I won't be surprised if, for example, we are running 50 experiments as of today at the same time. Yeah, like obviously from different teams, right? From completely different domains. But that was our motivation, to build the platform that can be used by many teams. So it should be, unified in a way that everyone is doing their experiments that are dedicated to their domains, but in a unified way, so that we can combine them all together, and then we keep it scalable at the same time. So 50 experiments, or even 100 or 200 experiments, shouldn't be an issue for us.
Cool. And it sounds very exciting to be able to run the experiments. I mean, I am a data scientist, so from the data science perspective, it is quite nice when you don't have to worry about all the setup, but you can simply choose your hypothesis, choose your groups, and see what happens. Can you
Absolutely,
give
yes.
us, can you give us an example?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that indeed, data science team is one of our main stakeholders. So we work with them quite closely.
Yeah, cool. Because I was about to ask, like, who are the main users, or maybe you can share with us some of the experiments that you know that people are running in the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think product team is our main stakeholder, at least from the amount of the experiments, because it's very natural to run A/B experiments on the product, right? On other domains, it probably requires a bit more creativity to run marketing A/B experiment, or I don't know, something related to the widgets, or something related to the machine learning data models. So product team for sure. But then we also run experiments touching financial aspect, for example, trying different versions of a checkout page or a cart page, basically simplifying the process for the user, playing with ranking algorithms, like how we design our search and recommendation pages. But also that there can be some areas that are a bit unusual, like how we reduce the number of contacts to our care team. And there we also can experiment with information, with how we present it, with what amount of information that we present for the user at the right time. And then we make sure that, we pretty much reduce the cost of dealing with user requests if they already have that info in front of them.
That's very interesting. Thank you. We can see that there are many, many different ways to think about the experiments, not only for the data scientists. So that's cool. Thank you. And okay, so another reason why we are having this session about the A/B experiments is because this is indeed a follow-up of one of the other use cases that was presented by your colleagues at Get Your Guide. So Bora and Tiago, they are engineers and engineering manager, and they were live with us on the Datalift number 6, which was last year in November. They presented the event tracking platform at Get Your Guide. So, if I remember right, this is about getting all the information of the action that the user takes in the website or in the app and understand how this can be collected in a robust manner so that the other teams can use the events to build their use cases. One of them is the A/B experiments. Can you tell us a little bit more how this connects? Like, what is the importance, let's say, of the events tracking to the experimentation?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is exactly right. So we are the colleagues working in the same in the same team, or rather the same department, and we act as data consumers and they act as our data providers, right? So our A/B experiments are built on top of the events. And if we think about it, that would make total sense, because indeed we are looking for those indicators that are coming from the users that tell us that they like a certain variation more, or they don't like it at all, right? And then we use those events as final indications. And then when we analyze the result of the experiment, we indeed have to construct the funnel and compute some of the metrics from the funnel. And then events become the valuable, and I would say the only data source for those indicators. And then, yeah, it loops back to this garbage in, garbage out, right? Like, obviously, if we don't have reliable events, then we cannot have reliable, maybe, experimentation results. So it is very critical, and they do this very critical component of our entire ecosystem to make sure that we have reliable data so we can build our analysis on top of it.
Yes, that's really, really critical. You're right. Maybe you can also share with us some of the big challenges that you have. For example, when you are trying to make or to read from the user actions, what is the funnel or what is the result of the experimentation?
Yeah, I think this loops me back to the conversation that we had during the conference, right? That the motivation of my talk will be to present how we do it. Like, I'm far from idea that we are doing it in the perfect way or the only right way. I just want to share how it works for us with all of the challenges that we have, and this is then exactly the right question, right? Thinking about the challenges, and maybe someone will take from it and improve our idea, but they build something more, even more robust and even more reliable. The biggest challenge is probably comes from this unification idea, right? That we have a lot of experiments and we have a single platform, and then every time something like this pops up, then there is always a challenge. And basically, unification sets the boundaries, right? We say, okay, we have one platform, which is a good thing. We don't have to maintain, like, we don't have to have the teams or people dedicated to the experimentation and being embedded in those teams. So you don't have to worry about that. Just run your experiments. But obviously, we have to set some boundaries and say, okay, this is what you can do, but this is what you unfortunately cannot do. And there are quite a lot of requests when some teams, usually those are not product teams, because again, like, we are probably guided by a product, right? So we are running a lot of product experiments, but some other teams would like to do something differently, or would like to connect some other platforms as data providers. And I don't say that it's not completely possible. We take all of those requests seriously, and we really want to help the teams to be successful. But sometimes it just means some technical complexity, or means that it takes more time for them to run the experiments.
Yes, understood. I mean, it makes sense, and I like the sentence what you mentioned that the limit really is the unification of it. So if you want to have something that attends most of the people, there will always be some few people that need something extra, that then you need to build or maintain. Yeah. This is something that I'm also curious to hear how you handle all of this, or how you started. So linking back to the Datalift Summit, you will be presenting this journey to the Scalable platform. So, am I right to understand that you are going to show maybe different, or how it looked like and how it looks like now, maybe how you want it to look like in the future, and people can expect to also understand different challenges or different solutions that you try?
Yeah, absolutely. So that I expect that conversation will be quite technical, maybe like definitely sharing some of the architecture diagrams, maybe even some chunks of code. So still working on the presentation, but yes, you're right. That will be a presentation about the journey itself. Like I would say, from not a scalable to a scalable platform, and then some
Okay.
of the decisions and some of the principles that we follow and some of the decisions that we were making. Like I can share, for example, a few of those principles to, not going too much into detail to keep some intrigue. But for example, one of the principles that we foster and we believe to is that we want to have separation of domains. So
Okay.
usually A/B experimentation means involvement from many people. Like we have a product manager that designs the experiment. We have analysts who help designing or help analyzing, right? Then we have the team that codes the experiment, basically preparing those variations. Then we can have one platform. We get like a configuration platform. Then we have analytical platform. So there are a lot of moving pieces, and we really focus on people doing the job where they are best at. So we don't want analysts to know, PHP or Java or know how to code the experiments, and vice versa. We don't want PHP engineers to know what statistical confidence is and how to analyze the experiment. So we really want to separate those and saying, okay, you focus on what you do the best, and then we will handle the rest for you. Obviously, there are some challenges there as well, right? And that's what I will be sharing. But this is like, the principle that we believe in, and it drives us, and it guides us through this living system, living, changing organism.
Yes, indeed, it's living or it's always changing and you have to adapt. And thank you very much for sharing this principle. I think it's a very interesting principle. So, the idea is that people can really become specialists. So, they can do what they do best and develop their deep expertise or even deepen their expertise without having to worry so much about the other components, because they are, or they can rely on someone else that is the specialist for that something else, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And like obviously we do not shut the doors in front of people who want to learn more. Like I can imagine if there is a backend engineer who wants to learn how experiments work,
Yeah.
from the inside, right, and understand what those statistical components are. Obviously we are we're happy about that when this happens, and we welcome that. But if they don't want to, that we want to remove this factor of annoyance where they have to deal with something they don't have any interest for.
Yes, I see. I like the possibility, let's say, that people are open to learning more, but also that you care about preserving their initial, let's say, interest. So if I want to work as a data scientist, then I don't need to learn PHP or don't need to care about this, because I can trust my colleague that is an expert in that and I can do the thing that I like the most. That
Yeah.
is very interesting. And would you say that this is something that is true for also other teams, like company wide? Is that kind of that principle, or it's more, or maybe you don't know, so you can say really about your team and the people or the things that you are
Yeah,
building now?
I see that this is the principle. Maybe it's not stated anywhere, but I definitely see how it comes into life, that people trust each other. So it comes from the culture of trust in general, that we are surrounded with professional colleagues who know what they're doing, who own their domains. And then if I'm good in my domain, if I deliver what I committed to or what I promised to other teams, that I can be sure that it will be properly utilized, and the overall outcome will be very good.
Cool. That is very nice to hear. I mean, it sounds like it's a very collaborative workplace where people really like work as a team, so they build on each other's strongest skills. Sounds really
Absolutely.
lovely.
Confirming.
Cool. And the reason why I'm asking about this is because you are not the only one that is going to present at the Datalift Summit. So I mentioned already that we had a presentation for the events tracking before online in November. We have you presenting the A/B experiments. We also have the machine learning platform use case that is going to be presented by your colleagues. And on the Thursday, so our conference is from the 22nd to 24th, so from Wednesday to Friday. But on Thursday, the 23rd of June, GetYourGuide is hosting our networking evening. So we have the full day in the conference where we have my cat, where we have you and your colleagues presenting your use cases. And right after the conference in the evening, we will be going to the office. If I am correct, you are at the office right now, at the GetYourGuide office.
Yes, I am.
So we're going to go there and have a networking evening to discuss panel discussion. So we can talk about the topics of the panel discussion, but also that people can maybe know your office, know the other people working in data, and have some maybe questions answered. If someone is looking for a job that maybe they can get interested, they can go there and talk to you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we are very happy with this collaboration between our company and you. So we are very much looking forward to this follow-up from the conference, and have that's going to be like, I would expect it as a very informal discussion, connection, and follow-ups from the conference.
Yes, I'm very happy about it as well. Like, we hosted one of our AI Guild dinners because besides the big conference, we also do like local events for the local communities. And then here in Berlin, we had once a dinner hosted at GetYourGuide. So I have been once to the office, and I know how good it is for this kind of, like you said, informal get-togethers, because you have a very cool space where people can walk around. They can maybe grab a snack or grab something to drink and chat with one another. So I think this is going to be a great closing of the day, and in a way that is more relaxed than the formal conference, but also a very good opportunity for people that are interested in working with you guys, especially knowing more about your culture. Now, like, we got a little bit of an insight and understanding the mindset that the company has to be data driven or data informed, and how you also encourage people to become more specialized in their domains. This is all very, like, from hearing it, I think those are all very interesting things. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you for coming, and thank you for organizing it. And I will definitely pass your words to those people who helped us organize the event, and they'll be very happy.
Oh, cool. Thank you, Eugene, for taking some minutes of your lunch break to be together with us. It was a very insightful exchange. And for anyone that is watching us, if you are curious to hear more about the journey of the A/B experiments, you can find out more in our Datalift website. And I am looking forward to seeing you all here in Berlin.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for great questions, and see you in June.
See you. Bye-bye.